afternoon, our lovely viewers. We genuinely apologize for the inconvenience caused. It was due to some technical issues, but we are glad that you are all here with us today. So, welcome again to another day with your fertility specialist. So, today we will be talking about career and fertility, which is a very interesting topic, to be honest, because in the time we find ourselves, there are a lot of people trying to balance careers above fertility. So please do well to share this link with your friends, your families, to people that you care about who are having issues or trying to pursue a career but also intend to start families later on so that they can benefit from this particular session. So we have here with us today our very own Dr. Kenneth Eguda. So for most of our viewers, we you all know who Dr. Ken is. He's a consultant gynecologist specialist. He's a reproductive biologist, and he's also a genuine lover and pioneer of CRISPR in Nigeria as we know it, and in the world we want to believe. So thank you so much for having us, Dr. Kenneth Egoda.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Well done.
hmm The
Okay.
pioneer of CRISPR in the world is Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Chapintaya. These are the people that take credit for CRISPR. We just talk about CRISPR and the potentials of CRISPR in this sub-region of the world. So they have all the credits. We're just followers.
Well, it's good to follow where the world is trying to
Oh
lead.
yeah, yeah, that's
And
true.
yes, sir.
hmm
So nice to have you here with us.
Thanks.
So our topic today is career and fertility, and this is a very interesting and controversial topic because a lot of people have views, especially in these parts of the world, about career, especially as it concerns women. So, how does career affect fertility as we know it?
Oh wow, I think it's a very interesting subject or topic. It's a social issue.
Yeah.
Before now, um, where career wasn't at the top burner for most families or for most couples, fertility seems to be very rampant. I mean, seems to be very high. The rates, fecundity rate, fertility rate, everything seems to be high. But now we are actually in an era that I might call a era of social revolution. And with this social revolution, a whole lot of things are going on with the males and
Mhm.
with the females, and all of these tend to delay uh, conception, childbirth, and all the things that have to do with reproduction for humans. Okay, and then it's having a very important impact on conception and delivery. How do I mean by all of this? If you take us back to like 40 years before,
Yeah.
and let's look at this region, African region, for instance, women get pregnant and get married very early,
Early
and they get married as early as 19,
18,
18, 20,
16 for some
and
people.
those are times where the period in one's life where the eggs are very viable, where they are more in numbers, normalities, and at that point, pregnancy comes just at the speed of light, you know, so fast. And then the rate of miscarriages, because the ages is low, rate of miscarriages are quite low, and so kids are given birth to in the numbers, you know. Every region passed through this stage, but I think Africa or Nigeria is at that stage now where social revolution is hitting the ground, and then every parent wants their kids to go to school, and then
Mhm.
woman empowerment, men empowerment,
Feminism.
the rise of feminism.
Feminism.
Men are equal to women, women are equal to men, and all man is equal. Things actually are changing, but changing for good, I may say, but it's having its negative effect, especially on fertility. So ladies go to school, and of course the idea is empower yourself
Mm.
and get empowered, get a means of livelihood, get
Okay.
educated, go into career, do politics,
Don't be dependent on a
don't be
man.
dependent on a man, and just do all you have to do and just move forward. And so most of the viable ages with respect to reproduction are spent chasing career, whether for the man or for the woman. And when they get down to settle, to settle down, they may be doing this at a very advanced age. And during this time, fertility or will have gotten so low
Reduced.
that the chance of getting pregnant spontaneously is very reduced.
Reduced.
And so the most of the years where eggs are viable were spent uh, getting education, pursuing careers, doing politics, being a high flyer, and then you get down to settle, and then there are no good eggs to achieve
And some
pregnancy.
of these babies having that you have when you're older, they end
Oh
up having
yeah,
abnormalities and
exactly,
all of that.
exactly. So these babies, when conceived at this advanced age, maybe may have some abnormalities. You understand? And then, if you're in the Western society, for instance, or in places where obstetric practice is taken to a very high level, when you get pregnant at above 35 years, for instance, you are subject to a lot of tests. Tests to check the health of the pregnancy, the health of the fetus, chromosomal abnormalities check,
Genetics.
physical abnormality check with ultrasound scan, and then all of that. A woman is meant to go through all of these tests. So her frequency of visit to the hospital is higher because of fear of abnormalities with
It
the
is.
babies. Yes, so babies abnormalities or abnormalities with the fetus is high when you get pregnant at those age. But for me, what comes across my way often is the population of women that I see that require egg donation. You know, Most times we see them in the 40s,
Mm.
early 40s, mid
Mid
40s, and late
40s.
40s, and that's when they just got married
Wow.
or when they're ready to get pregnant. You know, and then they get to the consulting room. You get talking with them, and then the option after all investigations are tailored towards assessing egg
Egg
donation, and they
donation.
tell you they don't want egg donation. And then they can be very the word is not violent. They can be very stubborn about.
Very cultural
Oh yeah,
and
I think that's the
biblical
word. Very
about it.
cultural, very religious, and very natural about it. you know they don't want egg donation. And then in this part of the world, a lot of fertility treatments or IVF treatment are done using egg donation. And they ask you, and the common question they ask is, what happened to all the eggs I have? What happened to all the eggs they have? And I tell a lot of my friends and some clients who care to listen that nature is
Wasteful.
one of the most wasteful character, in existence.
Yeah.
How do you explain to a woman that she was born with close to 400,000
Made
eggs or 700,000 eggs,
eggs.
at birth, and then she's seeing you at 40 and
And
she
she
has
has
no
none.
eggs? What happened to all of them? So, you see, women don't understand, or some women don't understand, that as you're aging, fertility declines.
Reduces.
The number of eggs decline.
Because you're menstruating every
You
month, you're
understand?
wasting
Every
eggs.
month, when you go through your cycle, science currently has it that you're losing like 1,000 eggs.
Wow.
Yes, and the eggs you're losing this month is that are better in quality
And the one of next
than the one
month.
you lose next month, than the one you lose the other month following, and
That's
on and on and on.
that's
So you're getting, as you're
interesting.
aging, the quality of eggs are declining, the quantity is also reducing, ability to get pregnant with those eggs is reducing,
Reduced.
the chances for miscarriages are higher
Higher.
because the egg qualities are reducing. But this not to say women don't get pregnant with their own eggs at advantage. They do get pregnant with their eggs, but there's a lot of risks associated with it. And the chance of getting pregnant is also lower. But yeah, you can get pregnant with your egg, even up to 46. But then at 46, you're looking at 1% getting pregnant with your
Wow.
egg. 1% of chance getting pregnant with your egg. So those are the things that I think we need to understand with social revolution, especially when we chase career or when we pursue career and not doing the right things while we're chasing the career, or when we're doing education on ending, and all of that. So the quality of egg reduces. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. But why is it that, like, even when we're younger, growing up and all of that, we hear people of 46 still having children,
Mhm.
normal children, healthy mothers giving birth to like twins. Has, like, the change in times, has it influenced fertility too?
Yeah, the change in time, the social life we live today, and the environment we live today are a lot more modified than the natural environment our parents live
Parents
in
grew up
times
in.
past. The diet we consume today, a lot of processed diets and all the chemicals we take on ourselves,
Mm,
like the creams, the deodorants, the perfumes, the soaps we use, the environment, for instance, the chemicals in our environment, the
mm,
kind of work we do. We do a lot of sophisticated farming these days, with a lot of chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, and all the things you have in the name of chemicals, the
mm,
fertilizers. All of these are chemicals, you know. Uh, they are more in use these days than they were the
in the
days that were
olden
gone by.
days.
So all of these we have what we call volatile organic compounds in all of these things,
Mm,
and some of these chemicals, when we use them on our skins, we get into the bloodstream. Anything you apply on your skin, for instance, get to your bloodstream, and then it may not be healthy for the hormone system that we have, the endocrine system, and they can affect reproduction differently. So you have our mothers then at 50 getting pregnant, having even twins spontaneously, but then these days at 35, the rate of decline is
yeah,
very
struggling
massive.
to have
At 37,
children.
the number of good eggs you have is about 30% of what you have left is good. At 40 you have less. At 46, just 1%. So the times actually are changing. Lifestyle is changing. Technology is changing, or it's getting too advanced, and all of these have effect on not just on the fertility, but on the human life entirely. And fertility is just an aspect. So that's the reason. So we have social revolution, chasing education, profession, career. Then you have technological revolution, advancement in farming technology that we use and all of that. So all of this may have negative effect on
Effect on
the
our
on the quality of
bodies.
garments, not just for the woman but for the man too.
Mm.
And so these are some of the reasons for the decline in fertility, as we see in this region of the world, right now.
Wow, this is a very interesting topic. I hope we are all learning something today, even though we are just getting started. Please, it is not too late to share this link with your friends. Call as many people as you can to come and benefit from this. So, going forward, a lot of people, they believe you have to have a certain amount of money before you start thinking about, okay, now I can afford to take care of a child. So what do you think? How do you talk to people like that? Do you think it is a right way of thinking? What do you think?
Oh well, yeah, to a large extent, I think it's right to think you have to have money before you have a baby, because how do you want to take care of the babies? I think the social systems of regions, of the state we find ourselves, the country we find ourselves, can be improved so that people can be gainfully employed, and then they can start thinking about
Having
raising a
kids early.
family. You understand? So if poverty is the order of the day, of course, the thought of having kids is going to be very, very low. So yes, economy needs to improve for people to get married, or to have kids while they are schooling, or some other things. But more importantly, is this: people need to understand that as they are aging, the gametes they have is reducing in number and in quality, and this affect both men and females. I mean, the male and
Yeah,
females.
females.
The knowledge before was that this affects women more. But just as the women have their biological clock, men also have biological clock, because as we are aging, the sperm count is reducing, the quality of the sperms are reducing, the morphology is reducing, the chance of having abnormal babies because of sperms is increasing, and more miscarriages happen because of abnormal sperms than even abnormal eggs. That is the current findings. So gone are those days that a woman has miscarriage and she's crying, "Hey, I have lost the baby, I lost the
Mm-hmm.
baby." I think these days, to a large extent, the men should be crying, "We've lost babies," because the sperms are a lot more abnormal. Why am I talking about this? I know this so well, as I know my name is Ken. I see the sperms daily. I practically live in sperms.
Oh
Yes,
my
because we
god.
hardly see sperms that are held, that are
That's
normal.
a normal.
If in a day where we're looking at I mean, this include the young boys too, not even the advanced age guys. If you're looking at 20 sperms in a day, for instance, we celebrate when we have 4 normal
Normal
sperms.
sperms.
I'm telling you, I'm not just kidding. This is the world we live in. We're looking at 20 guys' sperms. If you have 4 normal sperms, I mean, that meet criteria of what normalcy is, you're actually celebrating. I don't know what it is in your region of the world, wherever you're watching from, but in this part of the world, Nigeria,
Ah,
just Plateau State,
wow.
you know, they're actually terrible. And sometimes, yeah, I'm a good guy. I haven't done anything. It's not about being good, about doing anything. It's just about the
The
society, about the
society.
lifestyle, and about the exposure and all of that. So those are all the things. So it affects men. Men have biological clock, and ladies also have biological clock. The impact may be maybe sooner for a lady than for the man, but
For
we sure
man.
all have biological clocks.
Clocks.
Abnormal autism, for instance, if you observe, when I was a child, my early days in medical school, uh, I can't remember hearing so much about autism. Autism is so rampant right now,
Yeah.
that you see autistic kids almost everywhere.
Yeah.
It's because of the lifestyle, consumption of plastic, aging parents, and all of that. So it was so bad that BBC had to do a documentary on autism and the causes of autism, and you could check that out in BBC website. A very large documentary on plastic consumption and the relationship between plastic consumption and autism.
Autism.
You know, then the age of parents. So those are all the things. So the social revolution is affecting all of these things. Economic revolution, technology revolution is affecting all of this. But I should say that technological revolution can also reverse all the abnormalities with the garments, and I guess we're going to get there soon.
Very
Yeah,
soon.
so it affects guys and affects ladies.
Okay. So, for people that have really stressful jobs, let's say people that are working in mining pits, or doctors and lawyers, and then people that have difficulties balancing
Mm,
their careers and their fertility,
mhm,
work-life
mhm.
balance, how do you talk to them about
Okay, now there are some
fertility and all
professions
of
that
that?
are very hazardous, like the medical profession, for instance. Those who work in the department of radiology, radio diagnostics, and all those people that deal with these X-ray gadgets,
X-rays,
radiotherapy, and all of that. They are expected to be protected. Have their garments, the lead
the lead
jackets.
jackets.
There's a lead jacket for the testicles, for the penis.
Wow.
Yes, there's a lead jacket for the neck. You know, for the thyroid glands, and there's a lead jacket that covers the heart, the chest, down to your knee. You know, and there is I operate with laser, for instance. There is a Google for laser operations, and all of these are meant to protect those delicate aspects from those radiations. So if you work unprotected in those radio diagnostic units, or using some form of energy for your work, it doesn't matter what kind of energy it is. It may be telecommunication and waves and radiation. Even the radar from the plane, it causes a lot of damage.
So even pilots too.
Exactly, it affects everyone.
Wow.
It affects everyone.
Wow.
For
Wow.
instance, if you're making a phone call in an airplane, the effect, the negative effect on your brain is much more than when you're making a phone call when
On
you're
land.
outside the plane, because of all the constellation of the radar, of the waves and all of that. So it affects everyone. So know the kind of job that you do, and take the necessary steps to protect the aspect of your life that seems to be good, that you have not explored yet. So you don't walk into the radiation unit if you have no business. It's not a place that people should come visiting. And even doctors who request for investigations should make sure that these investigations that are x-ray related are necessary. Otherwise, you'll be exposing a young child to
So
unnecessary
unnecessary
exposure,
damage.
and then you can end up having a premature ovarian failure or testicular failure. So you have to do these things when they are, and those who are radiation staff, for instance, you only go there when you need to go there. You don't go casually strolling in a radiation zone. Yeah, it's supposed to be protected, but who knows? It may be leaking, and then your cells are affected. So the carrier can affect. Then you go to all these other guys who work and don't stay around their partners, the military guys,
Those that work on
the Air Force,
seaports and all
those
of that.
that work on the sea, the sailors, the captains, and all of that. You get married to a young woman, for instance, who is in her 20s, and you're on sea for 6 months, and she's not getting pregnant. You don't even know how long her fertility life is meant to last, because girls at 20 have ovarian failures. Then at 30, we have seen a lot. Then early 40s, massively. The common menopausal period is about 48 to 52.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So if you are doing all of these jobs that makes you not to have time for your partner, whether the male for the female partner or the female for the male partner, you have to think of ways to preserve your fertility. You know, for the military guys who go fighting wars, on ending wars, I hope all the wars in the world will stop and everybody gets back to their houses. We see their post on Facebook, they are missing home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're missing home. They're not making babies. Then some of them are killed in the war front. I mean, at war, and then they're just married, and of course the military doesn't care whether you are married or not.
Mm.
You have no kids, so you could preserve the garments and can be used at any time. The eggs can be frozen when you're younger and you're still schooling or pursuing politics, career in education, and all of that, and use them when necessary. Because if you freeze an egg now at 20 or at 25, you could use the egg when you're 40, and then you have better kids, healthy kids with less genetic risks of genetic abnormality than when you have those eggs taken at that time. You know, that's why we say nature is wasteful. How do you explain to the world that you have 400,000 eggs? Then you met a doctor like me, Ken, at 42, 44,
And he
and I
says you
say you
have
have no
none.
eggs. What happened to all the 400,000 eggs? So 700,000 eggs. You know, so those are times that, for what we know about nature now, you would have gotten pregnant with those eggs long ago, or store them and get pregnant with them when it is time. I think young girls and young guys should be thinking alike. Should freeze the eggs, freeze the sperms. If you're going to work in a radiation unit and you're not married yet, think of fertility preservation. You know, if you're going to war and you have no kids yet, you don't know when you're going to. You don't know if whether or not you're coming back, because it is a reality. We don't want soldiers being killed. We don't want
Killed.
Air Force being killed, the Navy, the naval guys, the SEALs, American SEALs. We don't want them being killed. But chances are high
Life
that even
happens.
if you are fighting the least equipped military in the world, you could still be killed, no matter how sophisticated you are. Then you have no kids with your
With
with your
your
partner,
spouse.
with your spouse. You could freeze the sperms or freeze the egg, so that even when you're not there, uh, your spouse, your partner can use those garments to achieve pregnancies, and then the world also have to understand that I don't have to be with a woman for her to be pregnant, and a woman doesn't have to be with her partner for her to be pregnant. So you don't see a woman who has just been alone, her husband is in some country somewhere and she's pregnant. I think she's doing something nasty. No, that's the possibility of science, you know. And then if you think with the kind of life you're living, it's not feasible to be pregnant, then get a surrogate if it is permissible in the region of the world that
Where
you
you
live
find
in,
yourself.
because that is another area career affecting fertility. Some people are high flyers and their job doesn't permit them to even carry pregnancy. I mean, to bear pregnancy. Instead of waiting until you get the permission, you know, if you're capable, you have the funds, why not get someone to do it for you? Just carry the pregnancy. So your life is progressing in this way, family wise, and you're progressing professionally and all of that. So there are different things we could tinker, talk about, and play around with, but then we're achieving the family life we want one way or the other. So those are the things that career people need to understand. You know, one major area, for instance, we doctors, we spend a long time training. I can't tell you the number of years I've trained to be at this point right now. I've been training all my life. Up to this year, I train. I mean, last year I trained. This year I have training schedules, at least 2, 3 very massive training schedules waiting for me. And most of them are not in the region where I come from. Asia, Europe, America, everywhere. And then you do all of that and not have time for a boyfriend or a girlfriend. you know I remember then when we tease ourselves when we're doing residency. Of course, we see ourselves, the doctor, a male doctor sees a female doctor, and we try to match make our mates. And some of them confided in us, say, come Ken, she has no ovarian reserve.
That's rude.
But yeah, it sounds rude, but that is the profession. That's our profession. If I want to get along with you, and one of the premium for marrying people, well, it shouldn't be, but it's the possibility of having kids. It's not a normal thing. You should love yourself and just want to be together, and just enjoy your company. But then kids are the reality. Whether you like it or not, something will put pressure on you. And then my boss said that he said she doesn't have ovarian reserve. I was a senior registrar in gynecology there. He said she doesn't have ovarian reserve. And I had already started specializing, I mean, doing my training in assisted reproduction. So I understand what all this means. He said she doesn't have ovarian reserve. She's my mate. And then we're all in our 30s.
Wow.
When he mentioned that, I said, yeah, he has hit the nail at the point. I mean, at the head. So let's not talk about this. You spend a long time studying. So the lady at that stage could freeze her eggs, then the guys could freeze their sperms. Yes, I've had a lot of calls from my colleagues who knows that we are into, fertility preservations and modalities. Some in America, some in the United Kingdom, thinking of freezing their gametes. And if you have to freeze this gamete, freeze them early. I mean, the word is cryopreservation, okay? We're just using the word freezing
Freezing
just
with
for the
layman
layman.
term.
It's cryopreservation. If you want to freeze early, because there's no much benefit when you're freezing at 40, because you may just be freezing a poor egg. So if you want to freeze when these eggs are of good quality. So guys should also freeze sperms so their wives can get pregnant when they want to get pregnant. More so if they're working away from home and they're going to be away for a very long time. But more importantly, with what we know about the sperms of men, when we're not married and you're getting advanced in age, the quality morphology decreases. And so the chance of having abnormal babies is very high. So now there is an unspoken commandment. It's not gotten as loud as we speak about egg freezing. That men that are already getting advanced in age, and ask me what advancement in age, 35, and are not married, should consider freezing their eggs. The reason is this: you may be caught up in an unhealthy, I mean, in an illness that takes out your sperms. You could be involved in an accident that could take out your sperms. Aging process on its own takes out sperms. I mean, reduce the quality of sperms and all of that. You know, you could treat an illness, God knows what kind of illness, and then you're out of sperms. So freeze them. So even when you're out of sperm or don't have quality sperms, you make kids because you've already banked them. And then they have the same genetic connections with you. So guys should freeze as much as ladies are
Are
expected to
expected
freeze.
to
So
freeze.
it's a woman's world as much as it's a man's world.
Oh my god. So I guess we've given you guys who are career driven, who are trying to pursue a career, options on how you can preserve your fertility and how you can have children even when you are at an older age, at least children of good quality, because we're
Oh
not
yeah,
just
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
having kids.
That's
We
true.
want to have healthy
Healthy
kids,
kids. That's the
healthy
word. Healthy
kids.
kids.
Yeah,
Kids with high IQ.
with high IQ,
You
kids that
know,
can think, not a kid that
with good
is
cognitive functions.
okay. So I want to believe that we have given such people who are here today
There is also a
options.
possibility to freeze the ovaries itself. Oh yeah,
Really?
yes. Just get the chunk of the ovaries and freeze them. Then a woman
Okay.
can take it up later when she's ready to start doing her fertility life. So almost everything about the human can be frozen. Even humans completely can be frozen.
Wow,
Everything can be frozen.
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So you can just suspend the life. When you freeze the egg or the ovaries at 20 or 25, and you thaw them later, let's say 20 years later,
Yeah,
they are still as viable as when
as
you
when you're
freeze them at
20.
that age at 20. So you may be 40, and then the eggs you're dealing with are 20 years old eggs, because you suspend all metabolic growth
Processes.
activities that's going on with the eggs. So you could do all of this.
Wow,
So it's
that's
a very beautiful
interesting.
science. And why this is very important to me is that most times part of the challenge of my job is difficulty in making women realize that they need egg donation. Yes, most of them will tell you that if my husband hears that I'm going for egg donation, he's going to divorce
You
me.
divorce me.
You know, so some of them would like to take egg donation without mentioning to their husband, whatever, however that sounds, I don't know. But a woman, according to the reproductive rights of a woman, can get pregnant at any time, by any means, by any science available to her, and all of that. So in our own eyes, that's okay. So that's just the reality. So you could you could freeze the eggs, so you don't have to have egg donation at that point in time, because if you're doing at this in this part of the world, you're doing an IVF for, let's say, 100 women, you'll be surprised that up to 70 may be needing egg donation. That's how big
That
the
is an
challenging
alarming
with
rate.
challenges with fertility preservation sounds. So
Oh,
if you want to avoid that, understand that a woman loses eggs every month when she has them, and then the eggs you lose this month are of better quality than the ones you're going to lose next month, and on and on and on until you're out of eggs completely. So if you want to preserve early, that's the way to go.
okay. I just had this thought. So you said you could freeze the
The
ovary
ovaries
itself.
itself can be
Is
frozen.
there a way they can freeze like testicles for men or a part of like?
Everything is freezable. Yes, just the way you take the kidneys, for instance. you
Okay.
you freeze the kidneys, and for those who are into kidney transplant, I'm not a transplant surgeon. I'm just a gynecologist, a reproductive biologist. So you could freeze anything. When you freeze them, they stay viable until they are transplanted into the real
Your body.
physiological body again. Then they kind of take up their function. And when you freeze your own ovaries, for instance, and you're taking it back later, uh, it's easy for it to be accepted by your body. Rejection and all those things are less, because the problem with transplant is when you're transplanting from a different source to another
And
source,
source.
you have a graft rejection,
Rejection.
and then the need for immunosuppressive medication, so your body doesn't just reject it outrightly, and all of that. But if it's autologous, it's yours, so it's going back to you, so your body is used to that tissue, so it doesn't just reject it. So the chance for accepting that is very high, very, very high. So it's done in some regions of the world. We
Mm,
haven't started that yet.
yet.
At the moment, we can freeze the eggs, and I'm glad ladies are taking up these options. You can freeze the sperms, you can freeze the embryos. Embryos are primitive babies, early stage of life. You can freeze all of that. So that's the way to go to preserve fertility.
Wow.
This is so important because in some parts of the world, human population is getting extinct. Fertility rate is so low,
Low.
and they don't even want to think about getting pregnant. And that is why the government of such countries sponsors free IVF treatments, and then high flyers in some organizations in the world are given the benefit of having their oocytes preserved while
Okay.
they're doing their high flying
Flying
jobs.
jobs.
So they take them up later when they want to get pregnant. So it's very complicated, but it's
Mm.
something that should be considered a lot.
Wow.
And those in churches should do that too. When you're a pastor, I mean, not getting married, you should look for them. They're going to be using eggs. And when they get married, when they not get pregnant, then they don't know what to do. Pray, they may just accept egg donation. They may just take egg donation, because that part of the body is gone, and everything in life has a season. You have time to be young and time to be old. So when you are old, you can't demand of your body to produce the result he should have when you were
Age.
younger. You understand? So that's it's nature. You can't pray against nature. A 40-year-old man cannot be praying to be 20 years. Those kind of prayers, I don't think
They can't be answered now.
can complete it.
Can't be answered.
So that's it. I think and ladies should have this kind of education, and then you can be menstruating and not ovulating, because I've heard all of this. You say, mother, you need egg donation. Say, how will I need egg donation? I'm menstruating.
Menstruating.
Menstruation is not equivalent to ovulation. In fact, for advanced age women, you can be menstruating and there's nothing to show for it in the form of eggs. Even if there was or there is, it may just be a poor quality eggs that is not good enough for pregnancy. So yeah, these are all the things that happen. So preservation of fertility, great.
Wow. I have learned a lot. I didn't know you can freeze your ovaries. I will think about it. I will think about it.
Please do if you have to.
Okay. So for people that, let's say, are starting up careers or trying, let's say, starting up careers and maybe do not have like the resources, do you have any like way they can naturally, let's say, naturally try to prolong the quality of their eggs, or
I know.
there's no solution for them?
But I don't think with the level of knowledge I have any of such. I don't. Maybe there is, but it's not within my domain. I've not heard about that yet.
Go to your
Hmm.
herbalist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so this has been a very interactive session. So sorry, another question for you, Dr. Ken. Today we are going to be answering you're going to answer all our questions as regarding career, because a lot of us want to have money. Money is essential to
It's very
us. It
essential.
is a very it,
Enjoy the best of the money and save your fertility.
skin. Does using donor gametes eliminate the chances of having abnormal
No, it
babies?
doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. You could have donor gamete from young guys, I mean, or
Mm,
young ladies with genetic abnormalities. The only way you could screen for that is if you do advanced fertility
take
care,
care.
like pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. And that's to say, if you have the capacity to screen for all panel of chromosomal abnormalities. Even with pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, sometimes you may not screen for everything. So it doesn't rule out the possibility of having abnormal babies.
And not everyone can incur the
But the
cost.
younger you are, the lesser the chance of having chromosomal
Chromosomal.
abnormalities, with respect to the sex genes, sex chromosomes.
Okay. So for the person that asked the questions, I hope you are satisfied with the response from Dr. Kenneth Eguda. So let's round up. In conclusion, what do you have to say to all our workaholics?
Yeah, it should, no matter how busy the life is for you, you should stop and think about other aspect of life. High flyers are always thinking high, and they may not take time to think about the immediate environment, think about the babes, the guys, the kids. And for some people, when you mention kids, family, it look as if you are insulting them. But this is what makes the world go round. If you take out the population from the world, you grind the world to a halt. You know, the population rules the world. Make the world system to continue. Without population, we won't amount to anything. The government can't function. There will be no economy without population. So just take time to think, and take time to think fertility, and take time to think preservation. We all need it. Mhm.
I hope you all enjoyed today's session. I, for one, I have learned a lot. I'm not even going to lie. So, thank you, Dr. Kenneth, for your time, for answering all our questions. I hope we learned a lot. I hope we actually learned something, at least one or two things. I know each and every one of us, we have that one friend that wants to lock in this year. And you're like, this year is my year. And then next year too is their year. And the year after that is their
It's
year
another
too.
person's year.
So every year is your year. So I hope we have learned one or two things, to advise such friends for those that did not watch this video. We can actually share this video to that friend later on in the day so they can watch it at their rest hours and all of that. So, once again, thank you so much for giving us your time, for watching and staying with us till the end. We genuinely appreciate all our viewers. Thank you so much from Alps Hospitals for being a part of our family and our activities. Wishing you all a lovely day and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.